Testing, okay. And are we live on YouTube? All right, so we're live on YouTube. Fantastic. Okay, so everybody, welcome to the June Game Dev meeting of the International Game Developers Association Twin Cities chapter. My name is Beth Korth. I'm the chair of IGDATC and your host for this evening. Is this what I push to make the next slide come up? There we go. This button? All right. So, the intro, that's what we're doing right now. And then we will do our community plugs and announcements. After that, we have a presentation by Nancy Perez. And post-meeting, we will hang out somewhere, probably for food and drinks. So welcome. The IGDATC meetings are open to everyone. We want to be a safe and inclusive community for everyone who wants to make games. So if you have any difficulties, you can always contact us, the @IGDATC board in our Discord, or email us at igdatwincities@gmail.com if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to report. Or you can just find one of the board members at the meeting. And these are the board members. We are a community-run organization led by a volunteer board. If you're interested in helping run any of our events, want to create a new one, have ideas on how to help us grow, or if you're interested in serving on the board, please contact us at our Gmail. Here are some of our volunteers. These people are folks in the community who have stepped up to help us schedule other guests on the playtest event or run some special interest groups. They help coordinate developer involvement at other events, and we are still, I think, discussing how to have someone help us with our media presence. I know someone came forward last month, and I will follow up with you as soon as we discuss it as a board. Different people. Trenton, did you add that in there?
Fair enough. Sorry, you got me.
Okay, so we'd like to encourage you to become a member of IGDA if you think that it is something that is worth your while. They have a list of their benefits on the website. Membership dues they go to support your local chapter, kind of. I think once we hit a certain membership level, we do get some funding from the parent org. Important things, the membership dues are $60 a year or $100 for 2 years, and I think it's like $1,000 for a lifetime membership. If you are in Minnesota or western Wisconsin, Iowa, a lot of places in the Midwest, we might be your IGDA chapter. There aren't a whole lot of us in the Midwest. So we have lots of events now. So our first Wednesday of the month is Devs Play Games, and that's run by Trenton, not Trevor, Trenton. And that is the first Wednesday at Nerdery. Still? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. TBD, okay. And then second Wednesday is the Game Dev meeting. That's what you're at right now. Peter helps me out with the technical difficulties, and I talk for a little bit before we get our presenter up there. On the third Wednesday, we have our Twin Cities playtest, where you can play and demo your games. And then the fourth Wednesday is our MN, VR, and HCI, hosted at REM 5. Oh, that's right, Twin Cities playtest is now in person again, I forgot. They're at Novo Robot next Wednesday. And I do want you all to note that each of the venues has different vaccination and masking requirements, so just check the Eventbrite before you plan to attend. Oh, and then it looks like maybe Lane and Nick are running the on-demand Game Dev Hangout on Discord, which is like a casual playtest. So if you're interested in that, send them a message. And then for our IGDATC special interest groups, we have the Women in Games Gathering, which is held at Wisdom, and that will be this Friday. This month, the second Wednesday and third Friday fall in the same week, so I will see hopefully some of you there on Friday. And then the fourth Saturday usually is the People of Color get together, but this month it's canceled because Stephen is going to be at Origins talking about GLOM. If you would like a Discord channel to have for your game on our server, you can just send a message to the request a channel and we'll get you set up. You are responsible for moderating your own channel, but so far I don't think we've had any problems. We've got a pretty good community. News and plugs. Trenton told me that he was going to take these for me.
Yeah, I'm going to do it right now.
He's working on it. Just a second.
All right, you can go next here. Hello. Press the button. Oh, too far. Back. All right, who likes audience participation? Cool. Get your phones out and do that QR code. If you're interested in Devs Play Games, which is where game devs, which is all of us, play games together. It's a really quick survey for, timing, days, what games you want to play, possibly location, although we may have made up. We'll see. Where's Troy at? Yeah, he's got to sweet talk me a little bit more. But yes, please do that. It's fast. And then next, it's where, didn't I say that? Game devs, we hang out and play games together. Probably a lot of board games, but we're going to have other types of video games, that kind of thing. Yeah. Thanks. All right, and then also, I don't think any of these people are here. Glom is a card party game type thing that just got released today from 4 local devs here. If you're familiar with the Nice Games Club podcast, which if you're not, you should be, because it's a local game dev podcast that is great, except they're way too nice. This is their game, and you can buy it on Amazon and a bunch of other places too. And if you hit the next button here, this is like a super fast trailer.
Oh no.
We don't have audio, do we? Oh yeah, you're in this.
We have audio, here.
There's my son. This is mine.
Mine's over there.
Peter's in it too.
Yeah. Who's that? All right. So yeah, check that out. Support local game dev. You can go next year. Yeah, is there a Tony Stark here? I didn't know if this was a serious... It's with an I, so... Oh, okay. They confused or something? Okay, yeah, they signed up for like plug my thing. Oh, okay, well if you're interested in World of Warcraft plug... All right. Oh.
They're a streamer, and they also have a podcast about World of Warcraft where they discuss World of Warcraft lore, and they show it to their friend who knows nothing about WoW to see like a live reaction of someone who doesn't know World of Warcraft. So if y'all want to check it out, I don't remember the name of it, but I'll post it in the Discord.
That is exactly how you do it.
All right. Thank you, Tony Stark's friend. I think that is... Oh, yeah. And then we have... Yep. Once you pull up the video... Mark, what's your last name? You can come up.
Hi, I'm Mark Van Mechelen, aspiring composer. So my brothers live here in the Minneapolis area, so I'm like visiting for a little while, and I thought to come check out the Minneapolis scene. So I'm not on the Discord yet, so I definitely need to get on there, because basically if it'd be good to collaborate on like a game jam or what have you. Those are cool. And an easy thing to commit to because of the time constraint, etc. So, thank you. But basically, I have an audio demo that we're gonna pull up. Yeah, so I was wondering. Yeah, can I do this? How do we?
You're on that side. The mouse is over there. You have a thing you want to say?
Yeah, let's see. I'll just go back here.
It's okay.
Yeah, I guess I had a slide presentation, but I think it's only like a couple slides to talk to. Is that too much?
I actually don't know if you sent a slide. Where is it?
It's right here.
Oh,
It's
you have a
it's
slide
in the
in the-
more.
Got it. Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't want to take up too much time, so I
No,
want to
this is
do
what
it quickly.
We're already delayed. You know, whatever.
Okay, so yeah, it's just basically background on, okay, you know, like I set out to do a project. Right, awesome. So basically, I am taking like, you know, a beloved little song and want to see what I can do with my computer, right? Because the sample libraries nowadays are getting pretty advanced. So first, you know, you transcribe it and then you figure out, okay, how am I going to orchestrate it, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess, yeah, this little play button is going to give it, it's like an A-B comparison.
It actually won't load the audio right now, as you can see. It says can't load the audio.
Okay,
Unfortunately.
interesting.
But we do have an A/B comparison, which is available on the YouTube on the YouTube link itself. It's just not fully in.
What happens if you hit escape and then try it from there? Can't load. Okay, that's all right. So you can imagine that I'm just trying to overhaul from this CRT monitor style to something more symphonic. Next slide. As basically, you know, the task is various levels of being really faithful, and then as I go along, it's like there are arranging choices because the N64 card, it's like, is this a trumpet or a French horn or a trombone? It's like hard to figure out sometimes exactly what it is, and then some arrangement choices like how quickly do you get tired of that snare drum sound, so you might want to change it up as you go. And then it's a song that's meant to loop infinitely, so somehow you have to kind of compose a little ending. It's not like a massive composition task, but there's some composition to it. So with that, why don't we go back to the YouTube channel and you can see what, from there it's not going to go full screen. So you want to go, yeah. And let's see how I did.
Notably for anyone in the chat, this is available on YouTube, and you can go ahead and click the link in the Discord on their general discussion to follow along. Clap, 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 clap. See, I have an immediate question already. Did you do a nice acoustic guitar for the Gerudo Valley, or not yet? You haven't done that yet? Okay, that's the best. So that's one of the best songs out there. Shh, spoilers for Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom. That's what it is. Okay, I'm going to pass this back to Trenton. Is that all for plugs?
Yeah, thank you for that. So are you just wanting to share your work, or are you like looking for, like, are you looking to get hired for things, or are you just wanted to share it with the share? Sweet. Share, collaborate. Nice. All right. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, you should join the Discord, and I bet there'll be people wanting to chat about it. It was weird for me because you know how things age up in your mind? You know, I was like watching that, and I'm like, doesn't it usually sound like this? No, not so much. Yeah. A-B. Mm-hmm. Cool. Any other announcements, plugs? We good? All right.
With that, I guess we'll go to our main presentation of Dancy. Please head up to the front of the stage. Woo!
All right. Hello, everyone. It's just making sure the stream's okay, because I heard that sometimes that's an issue. If anyone's in there, everything's good. Okay. Well, I know some of you know me and some of you don't. I'm going to keep my presentation like this because it helps me formulate my thoughts to see the left side. So sorry, it's not full screen. But this is my presentation. Beth asked me to talk about my journey in the gaming industry. I'm not going to lie, the first time she approached me about it, I was definitely like, what? Why? What have I ever done? Like, you know, definitely having that imposter syndrome. And then a lot of my friends talked me off the edge of like, what did I do to like remind me that I guess I have done a lot. And so I decided to call it Poderosa, my journey in games. I'm a very proud Mexican American. My family is from Mexico, and I've been in the gaming industry for like 10 years almost now. And I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. So let's get started. So first off, I feel like I can't talk about my journey in the gaming industry without talking about my parents. Like I put here, my journey is their journey. They did a lot for me and sacrificed a lot for me to get me where I am today. So on the left is my father. His name is Alfonso Perez. Just a little background on him. His family has been in Texas since it was Mexico. And my dad was actually pulled out of school in 5th grade to work the fields. He used to pick cotton and pick fruit, and that was like all they did. And pretty much for them, like work was work to survive, work to live, work to be resilient. So work was never something of like, oh, what's my next career path? But he pulled through. He made it to where he is today, and he got me where I am today. So I'm really proud of him. And then on the right is my mommy. Her name is Blanca Almaraz. She is from Linares, Nuevo León, Mexico. And she actually left Mexico in her 20s to come to the US and help our family because they were very poor. And she worked really, really hard. I grew up just watching her every day work, sometimes work like 2 jobs. She actually worked when she had cancer. Like, she's just a warrior woman. And I'm very proud of her as well. So I bring them up because, again, if it wasn't for them and their sacrifices, I know that dreams that they had that they weren't able to accomplish. So now I feel like by accomplishing my dreams, I'm getting to do, like, that sacrifice was worth it. So next, sorry, I'm trying to figure out where, oh, there we go. So what did that teach me? My family taught me a lot of lessons. I feel like sometimes when we talk about, you know, immigrant families or, you know, your families don't have education, sometimes people kind of take like a negative approach, like, oh, formal education, so like they didn't do a lot. And it's like, no, like you can have formal education, but you can have life experience. And their life experience did get me as far as I could go to get my foot in the door. And so I put some very famous like Latino like colloquialisms that we have, which one is ponte las pilas, which means, you know, like put on the battery, and it's like work, work, work. We're known for being hard workers, so yeah, it's not surprising that this would be one of our quotes. Another one is, no es lo que sabes, se trata de quien conoces, which pretty much means it's not about what you know, it's who you know. Now, as I go on into like how I got into gaming, like I definitely kind of feel like it's both. Like you don't necessarily need to know people, but sometimes you reach a point where you do need to have that networking, and I'll go into that. And then, lo que es para ti, nadie te lo quita. And so that means what is meant for you, no one can take away. I think this is a very hard industry to be in. I think a lot of us have dreams and a lot of us have goals, and there's so much rejection in this industry. And a lot of times, like, this quote really got me through it. Like, I would get like 40 letters of rejection, and then finally somebody would say yes, you know? And then it was like, wow, this is actually where I was meant to be. So I actually do fully believe in this saying from her. And then the last one is, no te vayas a quedar como el perro de las dos tortas, which means you don't want to end up like the dog with the two plates. So I know it's a really weird saying, but it pretty much means like there's a dog and he has two plates next to him, and he's like, oh, but I want that, oh, but I want that. I don't know which one to go for. And because he never chooses and he never takes a risk, he never gets to enjoy his meal. So that's kind of like, you know, like you have to take a risk, you know? So the biggest part of it was that they definitely were like, if you have a dream, don't let anybody take it away. And that's also a quote from Selena. As like a South Texan Mexican, I had to throw her in here, you know. So shout out to her, because she was like a big like inspiration growing up. But actually, these people that I have here are not people that believed in me. They're people who didn't believe in me. And I kind of wanted to go back to even like high school, because when you are talking about people who belong in minority groups, you're talking about people who already are at sometimes a disadvantage, and you're talking about to people who already don't have spaces or don't have places where they belong in this industry. And so when I was in high school, I had this, like, she was like a career advisor, and we were all supposed to meet with her like our junior year. And I did go to a predominantly Mexican-American high school. It was an all-women high school, and she pretty much told anyone who was not the top 10, you might as well not apply to a four-year university, you're never gonna get in. Like, we can imagine that. And I remember in my head, I was like, I don't know if we can cast, I'm just like, I was like, B, I'm gonna get in. And you know, so I worked hard, and I did make it into the next phase. And then in college, again, I want to talk a little, I did say in my presentation I was gonna talk about what it can be like as a minority group or as an immigrant to go into a space that wasn't necessarily built for you. It was actually really hard. And I know that I'm older, I do understand why a little bit better. I didn't really have a great support system in the sense that, you know, like my family could only take me so far, but they stopped being able to help me with homework when I was like in middle school. You know, and that's nothing against them, but it's just like a reality. And I didn't have anyone that I could look to for mentorship, or I didn't have an adult in my life that I could be like, how do I navigate college? How do I navigate FAFSA? How do I navigate getting into the corporate world? And I had a college advisor who, on a really hard semester where I was really depressed and not doing well mentally, and my grades suffered for it, was like, oh, well, you need to stop dreaming. It's never gonna happen. Just because, yeah, they started off on this rant. And so I was like broken. And then she was like, you know, just because your family has money doesn't mean you can make it. And then I was like, what? And she was like, aren't your parents doctors? Yeah, you can't like rely on them to get through life. And I was like, my family never went to high school. And she was like, what? And I'm like in tears. And she's like, oh, you know what, never mind, I'm sorry. What I mean is, and like at that point though, it was like too late. And also, can we talk about how as an educator, like it doesn't matter, like you should never like want like a child or like a young adult to not succeed. You know, so more than anything, I wanted to talk about that because I do think that if you're an educator and you're working with women, minority groups, you're working with people who maybe don't always get to see themselves make it, you should really be thinking about the lessons that you're putting in them since they're children, because it's not, it can lead to like a lot of like that imposter syndrome. And then, of course, my family, and it's more that, again, like I said, sometimes it's hard when they're not from that space to be able to help me navigate it. And so sometimes I'd be like, oh, I want to go into this. I'd be like, what's that? You need to be a doctor or a lawyer. It's like, I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. So, and then last was myself. I had a hard time believing in myself, but then I did find a mentor, and I will talk about mentors in a bit. And she was a career advisor at my university. It was actually the same semester that I was just like, well, someone told me to stop dreaming, so I should give up. And she was like, no, like, you can still do it. You know, actually college, like, it's great and all, but once you make it to your foot in the door, it's all about what you can do at work. It's all about those skills that you can learn, and you can grow from there. So she was like, I want you to go home, look up internship, whatever you like, and you'll find it, and then you're going to apply. And like, I was like, okay. And that led me to the mouse. So this is kind of where I did start getting into the entertainment industry. And I remember back then, like I did the college program twice. When you do work for them, I mean, this is not a presentation about the exploitativeness of Disney, but I could talk about that another day. But I do feel like there's a little bit of that with the college program. However, on the other side, it did open doors for me, and it did, I got to take a lot of classes where I got to meet people and learn things I never got to learn before. It helped me narrow down what I wanted to do. Like, okay, I already know I want to do entertainment, but how do I narrow it down? And so at the time, like I feel like most of us, I thought I wanted to be an Imagineer. And so I did the Imaginations competition in 2011. I was actually a semi-finalist, and I got an interview, but I kind of bombed the interview. And the part where I bombed the interview was that I did not have screenwriting experience. And they pretty much were like, oh, please, come on, like, tell me you have at least a one-pager. And I was like, I'm sorry. And so I didn't get the internship, and it really stuck with me. So I thought, okay, well, I don't know where to go now, but so I guess I should go back to school. So just for y'all to know, I actually have like a BA in English with a minor in biochemistry and an associate of applied sciences in film, and I do none of that now. So goes to show you, you never know where your journey is going to take you. And so that's where I'm going with this. You never know where your journey is going to take you. There's literally no wrong or right way to go about your journey. I think a lot of times, like, yeah, it's great if you're able to graduate from high school, go to college, get an internship, go to work, and then from there your life is set. But that's not the reality for a lot of people. Like, and a lot of things can be the reason for that. It could be like you're a minority group. It could be you're from a low income level. It could be your parents weren't there for you. There's a lot of reasons that you may not be able to have that same opportunity. And it's okay, because you can still make it. And I think that's what some of the people that I've met in this industry who I have looked up to the most have the weirdest journeys of getting where they want to go. Like, I know an esports manager at Blizzard who was a dentist, you know? Like, I don't know if y'all know this, Ian Hazacostas from World of Warcraft used to be a lawyer, so you never know. So then, after that, again, I was lost, and the reason I'm bringing up some of my weird jobs is because they actually led to where I am today. I was actually telling my friend, how do you say I had 3 jobs in a fun way? And he was like, you say I'm slowly dying. And I was like, oh, I mean, maybe I shouldn't. But then I decided, yeah, I'm going to talk about it. So I was just working like at 2 companies. The one that stands out to me here is that I was working for a YouTube influencer, except back then he was like a fitness guru. Remember, it was guru, it wasn't influencer. And he taught me a lot about SEO. He taught me, I would edit all his videos, I would cut them and publish them. I was like doing all his social media. And I will say that he did teach me a lot. And around that time, I'm learning all these things and doing all these things. I actually had no idea what I was working towards. Like, I know I want to do this, but where do I go from here? And I remember that advice from my advisor a long time ago, Google it. And I was like, what do I love right now? I love video games. I'm playing World of Warcraft. When I get out of work, I usually play it with my friends. Do they have a job for that? And that's kind of what gets into the next part. So I do want to talk a little bit about, for anyone who may be listening, like maybe later on YouTube, or anyone here who is like Latina, Latinx, Latino, however you want to call yourself. I think sometimes for us, it's like our parents gave us a great gift, and it was their sacrifice. And sometimes their sacrifice is like a burden at the same time, because it's like there is no ceiling that I could break. There is no sky I could reach where I feel like I could ever give them back what they gave to me. And so I carry that with me, and like I do want to talk about that a little bit later, because I think that kind of leads to why we sometimes let ourselves stay in toxic workplaces. But I did get my foot in the door, because I kept going, and I ended up at Blizzard. So I was there for almost 6 years. I was a game master, and I originally started in Blizzard Austin, and I was supporting Latin America. And I had to call this group out, because honestly, they were some of the most amazing, supportive people. It was so cool to work there and have I'd go in, and my job was getting to talk to my friends and people who spoke Spanish and Portuguese and English. And I also wanted to bring this up because I feel like CS and QA are people in game dev that are definitely undervalued. They really are. Oh, yes? Yeah, so Game Master just means that you are player support. So pretty much like if y'all play any games like from Blizzard, like the launcher, any game that you see on there, and then you're like, oh, my game stopped working. I'm gonna go hit up customer service or player support. That's us. And we have to know everything about every single game you see on the launcher. It doesn't matter if it's Blizzard, it doesn't matter if it's Activision, it doesn't matter if it's Destiny a long time ago. Like, if it is on the launcher, at some point, it's gonna touch us, so we have to know some kind of basic information about it, how to troubleshoot it. And even though they tell us like, oh, you know, if it's not really like our game, you don't have to really help, that's a total lie. We still have to help because we still get yelled at about it. So we were like, no, we'll go a little bit extra further until, you know, we can get them to the right people. So I think that being in CS and QA, like if anyone here is in it or has been in it and knows what it's like we do something that is very undervalued. We learn so much about the games that we support, the games that we're testing, and I really hope that like if you take away anything from this is that like please go look for something that treats you better, because there are so many places that treat QA like crap, like, to be honest, treat CS like crap. And without them, these games wouldn't be able to ship. So while I was there, I was like, now I know where I want to go. I want to stay in gaming. I love this. I want to be either an esports community or I want to be an event manager or project manager. I just love, you know, putting things together and organizing people since I was like really young. And they told me, okay, well, you can't really do that here in Austin. But if you want, you can go to Irvine, and even though you're only still going to get paid really low money, there's a chance you might be able to move up. And so I was like, okay, well, I have this unattainable ceiling that I will never be able to reach, so I'm going to do it. And I moved to Blizzard Irvine, and again, I will say, I know there's a lot of contentiousness right now with ABK, especially Blizzard. This is not about them. This is not about that leadership. This is not about that story. This is just about how I got through my journey in gaming. And so them aside, like the people that I worked with that gave me the opportunities, that gave me the skills that I needed, they were amazing. And there's some amazing people who are working there still that I absolutely love and that I wouldn't be here where I am without them. And this is kind of where, again, the 3 jobs, no ceiling I can reach starts. So I get there, and they're like, well, you're a game master, but we need help with Overwatch League. Can you be a referee for Season 1? And I said, sure. So I was actually referee for Overwatch League Season 1, and I did get to learn a lot of skills from that, too. And I was like, maybe this is my in to get into esports. And then the season ended, and they're like, all right, CS, go back to where you came from. And nothing came from it. I was like, it's okay, because this is a journey, and I'm still going to make it. So then they were like, so there was a lot of applications that were happening at this time. There was a lot of things where like, if consumer products was like, hey CS, can you help us? Yes. If esports was like, hey CS, can you help us? Yes. If like, it didn't matter. If you told me you worked at Blizzard and you wanted help, I would say yes, because I just wanted to move up. And then finally in 2019, I got to work on the BlizzCon events team. And I got to help put on that convention, which was like a really big deal for me. Because it was like finally getting to do the job that I had been working towards for like years at this point. And if anyone knows, Diablo 4 just came out. Like, it holds a special place in my heart because I was part of the events team that helped like release that during BlizzCon. And so I knew about a lot of the secret stuff because like we worked with that team, and it was like really exciting to finally see people be excited about it. And you know, when I was in that team, there's a lot of amazing people I met, a lot of great things I got to do. I actually started learning about mentorship and finding mentors and people who were helping me learn about my resume, my cover letter, like how to like talk about my transferable skills. But then again, once the internship ended, it was like, or not internship, it was like almost like a year, and like you kind of go back to CS, it's almost like an internship, but it's not. I just feel like it's a weird way to be like, hey, you get paid $15 an hour and we don't want to pay someone $30 an hour, so can you do this job? To be honest. And once I did that, they said go back. And then, of course, no job. So then I was like, okay, what can I do next? And so then there's just some of the weird things I was doing while I was there. So then I finished that. I became a new hire orientation facilitator and a campus tour guide while I was still at CS. And if you guys ever find yourself at Blizzard and you know somebody with a badge, I could probably give you the tours to this day. And from there, they also started their diversity, equity, and inclusion groups. And as y'all know, I'm a proud Latina. I posted some photos of my mom and me and celebrating Dia de los Muertos, and my friends and I during Fiesta back in my hometown. And I became a lead in the Blizzard Multicultural Network. And then later, I was so Activision, Blizzard, and King all just kind of put all of that under one group so that all of the employees could support each other. And then I got to meet people at Activision who were like really, honestly, some of the best mentorship I got was finally getting to break into that. I got to meet the current, I don't think he's currently, but at the time who was the current Latinx Network Global co-lead. And then he made me he was a lead and then he made me co-lead because I just worked so hard with him. And he really he taught me things. Because he made me co-lead, I was able to have a monthly meeting with an exec who was in charge of our network and really kind of start to understand that process. But I will say this is where I want to talk about advocating for yourself. So y'all now know my history with Blizzard. You know how much I worked, you know all the things I did, you know how much I was getting paid, because I still got paid around that same pay until right before I left. Maybe I got $20 an hour, so exciting. And I think you need to advocate for yourself. I think one, you need to take time to understand your needs and know when it's time to leave. And part of advocating for yourself is knowing when it's time to leave. I think in this industry, we kind of I don't know, so know your worth. We fall in this pitfall of I'm lucky to work here. Gaming is so cool, I'm lucky to work here. And then it's but is it worth the abuse? Is it worth not getting paid enough? Is it worth not seeing your family? And I think that we're in this time right now where gaming is starting to realize that, and that's why you see some companies moving into oh, these are the best paying companies, and these companies care about you more in terms of time off and giving you this and that, and which companies are falling behind on that. And I think another part of advocating for yourself, absolutely, please go find a mentor. I am not a career person that can talk to you about mentorship versus sponsorship versus having a champion. I know those are things. This is just my experience, but I highly recommend looking into that. Finding a mentor can really be the difference. Finding people who can look at your resume and be well, this is crap, I need you to fix these things. Somebody to look at your cover letter and be oh, I actually don't think you should add this. Somebody who can look at you and your career and what you've done and be why didn't you add this? And you're oh, I'm undervaluing myself. And then, they're giving you that senpai hitting you on the head, and they're no, fix this. You know how to do this, 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 and this. And even though you didn't have that job title, that's important. And that's where I think in QA and CS, we tend to be oh, I just did this, and not realizing that some of the jobs and the skills we have are absolutely transferable. And you just need to have that different perspective. So then I did take a chance on myself. And that's how I ended up here in Minnesota. As y'all, if anyone's from here, famous Mall of America, butterflies. I'd never seen that before, but that is actually a symbol of, for me personally in my life, whenever I'm oh my God, please send me a sign, I always ask for it to be a monarch because it's very symbolic in Mexican culture. And I got here, and I had finally gotten a job in esports, and I was is this the right choice? I don't know if I'm gonna be too cold. What am I doing here? I don't know anybody in the Midwest. What did I decide to do? Started freaking out. And then my manager took me into the Mall of America the first day, and right when I'm please send me a sign, I see this, and I'm okay, noted, I understand. And it honestly, leaving a company I really loved to take a chance on myself was worth so much. And I just hope that if anyone's in this position where I was at that time, I hope you take a chance on yourself. And then I ended up at Wisdom Gaming Studios, which is a local, I guess the best way to describe it is esports company that does remote broadcasts and does tournaments. And I quickly moved up within the year I was there from event coordinator all the way to event manager. And it was really amazing, and I got to do a lot of really cool things and learn a lot of things. And I think really kind of if you are think of a cocoon and then the butterfly happens, that's how I felt, because I finally was yeah, all of this whole time that people were telling me, you know how to do this, they were right, and I should have listened, and it's just that I wasn't valuing myself. And a big thing for me was that in 2018, I remember in Overwatch League, a friend and I were talking after one of the matches we had just refed at. We were very exhausted, and we were at a bar, and we're what is your goal? What do you think is gonna be your big dream? And I was I just wanna work on a Riot event, because as much as I love Blizzard, Riot does esports really well. And then it happened. And I literally called my parents, and I teared up with them, because I will never forget, like, my dad telling me he really wanted to work for a company when he was in his 20s, and at the time the policy was you don't hire Mexicans. And it was like, here I am, Dad. I made my dream come true, you know? I remember my mom who, like, my mom can do math in her head, like that whole Matilda scene where it's like, she can do math in her head, so can a calculator. That's my mom. And she totally could have been a business manager, an account manager, something. But she had to sacrifice that for the family. And I was like, I did it, Mom. I got to where I wanted to go. And so before I go into where I'm now, I do want to go over like the things I learned. I tried to go through my company history first because I don't really want to single people out too much. I kind of wanted to give a general, maybe like off of stream I'll talk to y'all more about it. But so first thing I learned is how much grit I have. I think grit is like a word that's thrown around a lot, and you know, corporate like, oh, they have so much grit. But honestly, really what it is I kept pushing. And this is an industry where you kind of do have to keep pushing unless you're able to land that like graduate, college, internship, I made it. Like, you just have to keep pushing, and you need to find the people that are going to help you keep moving forward. Because there are definitely a lot of toxic people also in our industry, as much as it can be great. Things I learned, your ideas and contributions are valid. Your voice matters. Like, I know it's like a cheesy thing we say, but it really is. And I recently was reminded of it because I had pitched an idea at a company, and I was like, I really believe in this. And they were like, it's not profitable. And then recently, I noticed that another big company used that same idea. Like, they had no way of knowing our idea. It's just that they just happened to have the exact same idea that me and a friend had. And it was insanely profitable and successful. And I was like, you know, if I ever doubt myself again, I'm going to remember this moment. Your mental health and peace are worth so much more than staying somewhere toxic. Like, it's just absolutely true. I thought that by staying somewhere that was making me unhappy, it was like worth it. It's like, but if I can make it, it'll be worth it. If I can change, maybe I can change it. Maybe, and I kept making excuses. And one of the reasons that it was hard for me was I did do a lot of DEI work in a company that has a lot of systemic issues. And I want to advise that if any of y'all are involved in any kind of DEI work, please set your boundaries, because it can burn you at both ends very fast, and it can be very tiring. Don't love the company, love the people. Like, I love the people that I worked with. Maybe I don't love Blizzard anymore, like not to the same extent, you know? And we shouldn't value companies over people, and we shouldn't put our stock in that they'll treat us like family. And I don't mean to, like, if anyone's like, oh, that's like a dream of mine, like, I'm not trying to break your dream. You can still make that dream happen, but be careful. Like, more than anything, we just need to be careful and take care of ourselves. There's a difference between a manager and a leader, and I learned that, like, even as like an employee who's never been a manager, I quickly now have learned, wow, like, I had some shit managers back in the day, and I have had real leaders who've given me real allyship, who've given me real opportunities, and who've really championed me. And I'm so lucky that I finally got to see that. And if you are a hiring manager, I hope you think about that, and you think about, like, am I taking the step because it's just the next step and I don't really care about the people, or am I taking the step because I want to help someone? Talk about your salary, okay? Like, please. And look into your laws. Most of the time, it's not illegal to talk about your salary. So many times we get underpaid. So many times we don't even realize we're getting underpaid. And like, if you talk to somebody who has the same job title as you, like, y'all don't have to make it, like, it doesn't have to be a big secret. It doesn't have to be scary. It's just like something that we should be doing to make sure that we know what we're worth. And if your company is severely underpaying you, then you can be like, oh, well, now I can go find a new company. And then maybe I can come back and be like, they want to hire me. Do you want to give me that same, you know, salary? And know your worth. And last, apply, well, not last. I have two other big ones that I want to talk about, but apply for the job. The worst they can say is no. I know I have so many times, and my roommate who's in the audience today can tell you, she'll be like, oh my God, I don't match all of the things. And I'm like, you don't have to match it 100%. Like, you really don't. Like, please just, there's a program you can go and Google, and you can make sure your resume matches, like, what is it, the system that HR uses. And, like, you know, talk to your mentor, talk to your friends who support you, talk about this job. And if you really feel like you can do this job, just apply, because the worst they can say then is no, and the best thing that can happen is your life changes. And my last two, like, big, like, things I learned is never forget where you came from. Pretty much everyone in this slide are people that have either meant something important to me or been people that advocated for me or I advocated for or I worked with. And so community is really important. As a Mexican American, like I'm all about community. My mom would not have survived here in a country where she didn't speak the language without community. And I have friends, like in the middle, for example, my friend and I were both in customer service and miserable and wanting to get out. And I applied for a job. And then I was talking to him and I was like, why aren't you applying? And he was like, oh, are you okay with that? And I was like, I am never gonna be the kind of friend that's gonna tell you you can't apply to something I applied. Because if you make it, I make it. And I think that we need to start thinking of each other as like a community and stop being so cutthroat, because that's kind of also how they take advantage of us. And just, you're powerful. I made my name Poderosa because honestly, when Beth reached out to me, I was like, I'm feeling imposter syndrome. I'm not really that interesting. I don't really have a story. Why would you want me to talk about my journey in games? But honestly, no, like, you're powerful. And like, if you have to wake up in the morning and tell yourself that, please, or whatever version, you know, like, I have great XP, I don't know. Just like, remind yourself that you're powerful and you're worth it, and you're worth more than like, you can ever realize. So where am I now? After 10 years trying to move up and figure out where I wanted to go, I actually didn't realize what I'd left behind. And I do think that right now, I feel like the corporate industry in general, like corporate America, whatever, we are talking about what matters, right? Like our time, our families. Sometimes we lose people because of a job, and you can't go see your wife give birth. You can't go to the funeral. You can't go to the wedding. And I had a lot of that for the last 10 years. And I feel like, you know, I left in my 20s, and then one day I looked behind myself, and my parents were older than I ever remembered them being. And I knew that I had to go back. And so as much as I did appreciate what wisdom has done for me, I was like, it's time to look again. And now I am working at Mutiny. They're a trailer park group company specializing in games marketing. I feel like that's the best way I can describe it, so that's kind of why I just took it from their LinkedIn. So they do work with AAAs, and it's kind of cool to be back in that space. I am working with a client that's a AAA company, and it's really cool to be back there and like getting to be a part of In the Know, and I'm really excited, and I'm actually really happy to know that I'm in a team that kind of has all those values that I just talked about. And honestly, I feel like it's really surprising that I found places like that, but they exist, and sometimes they don't exist in AAA, and that's okay. And so I'm moving back home. I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, but you know, I feel like this journey was really hard, but I learned a lot, and I am excited for whatever's next, and I'm excited to learn more at this new company. And so if y'all ever want to chat about your job, if you ever want to chat about what's next, if you ever want to chat about like networking, if you're like, I want to learn more about engineering, but I don't have a person in my circle, or if you're like, oh, I need help with my resume or cover letter, like I wanted y'all to have my contact info because I believe in giving back. I had help, and now I want to give back because I wouldn't be here with the people who helped me, without the people who helped me. And it's my turn to like turn around and reach out my hand. So that has been my journey in games. I hope it wasn't too boring, and I just wanted to say gracias, thank you for your time, and have a good day, unless you have questions, but I don't know if you will. Okay.
No, not at all. Of course we have time for questions. No, stay up there. Stay up there. Questions for the audience. I have a microphone here that I can walk over and hand over to you for anyone that has a question. Whoa.
Earlier you mentioned you had 3 jobs at one time. Can you list all 3 that you had at the same time?
Yeah, I was a guest service representative with the Spurs, my local NBA team, and I was also working for another department where I would like take footage of like the night and then edit it and then make a video that we would send up to the execs. So I would interchange between those things, and then I was working at Build-A-Bear, and then I was also working for the YouTube influencer, and then I had a lot of allergies in Build-A-Bear, so then I started working at Disney Store, and I actually was also going to school back then too. What is sleep? Excuse me.
What is sleep?
Back when you were a GM for Blizzard, do you have any good like tickets stories? Like,
oh, tickets. Do you want a GM joke too?
Yeah,
okay,
of course I do.
So my favorite joke. Does everybody here know both World of Warcraft and Diablo? It's really important to know both. Yeah, okay. Very specific. Okay. Then Why can't Torn build straight houses? Because there is no cow level.
But I get it. That's a good job. That was pretty good. It's pretty good.
But no, I think one of my favorite stories, it's actually kind of heartbreaking, but it's like, it was one of my very first tickets, and this woman was just contacting, because if anyone has played any kind of Blizzard game, you know that they're very hardcore about like security and like making sure that the right person is trying to get the account information changed. And she was reaching out because her husband had died, and she wanted to just like take over the account, and she was like, I'm getting remarried, and it's been a few years, and I haven't been able to get on into like even look at his account since he died. But I think it's important to say goodbye, and the way that I want to say goodbye is I want to log into his account and play one more time with him. And so, you know, she had all the paperwork ready, and I was able to help her, and then I even gave her like a little like in-game reward that I didn't have to give her, because like, and she like, even though it was through ticket, like I could just feel like the emotion when I got to see the response, because someone sent it to me later. And like, I believe she like named the pet I gave her like after her husband for her current account. And I got a lot of stories like that. And when I was working like as a GM, I got to see like how much gaming impacts people. So that's why, again, know your worth, because like you're making something, you don't even know if like someone in like is having a hard time, and then they jump on your game, and you just made their day better.
Any other questions? I don't see any in chat either.
All right. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
One more round of applause. All right, well, with that, I think we're okay to wrap up today's meeting. For those of you in stream, feel free to reach out any questions. Jonah, you can probably gather up in the Discord, have some discussions about today's presentation. Otherwise, for the people for the in-person people, we will just deliberate and decide on a place of eating post-launch here. So, all right. Thank you guys all so much, and have a great rest of your evening.